All right, good morning and good evening, everyone. Hello, welcome to yet another session at NestGen 2024. Before we begin, thank you so much for showing us so much love and appreciation, staying with us for most of the sessions at NestGen 2024. Let me know how it's going with you today. How are you finding the sessions? Let us know in the comment box your experiences, your learnings. We also have a NestGen wall of love. So if there's something specific regarding the event that you wish to tell us about, feel free to do that. It'll help us curate the right courses and the right sessions for you at NestGen going forward. So without any further ado, I'll just walk you through what we are going to cover in this particular session. So this session is all about getting to know how you can get started with autonomous drone operations. And when I say autonomous, I mean how can we remove human from the loop to make drone operations more efficient, cost effective, while also ensuring flight safety and compliance.
Right. Right, Neil. So I think today our viewers must have learned about so many things, right? Right, from regulations to app integrations and the UTMs, all of these things. Now, in this session, we really need to get to the basics, right? How do you get started with autonomous dog operations? And that's exactly what we are going to do today. So yeah, it's over to you, Neil.
All right. Thanks, Jeet, for setting that context. So going ahead, I'll just give a quick introduction about ourselves. So I have Jeet on the session here as well. So Jeet has a proven track record as a customer success associate at FlytBase. So he has over 2 years of experience with our team under his belt. He's a committed advocate for enterprise level drone automation, and his role at the customer success team revolves around the pivotal tasks of onboarding enterprises and helping them scale their drone in a box solutions. And beyond his technical expertise, he's also known for his exceptional ability to connect with clients, ensuring that their operational goals are always met, and not just operational but strategic goals as well. And while he's away from his desk, he can be seen exploring music, reading classics, or he can be found at a cinema hall. So welcome, Jeet. Welcome to this session.
Thank you, Neil, for the introduction. It's quite flattering. You are taking compliments. But yeah, anyways.
And yeah, a brief intro about myself. So I'm also a part of the customer success team. My name is Neil Sharma. I have about 4 years of experience in the drone industry, and I proudly wear the badge of a drone nerd. As Jeet, I also have a track record of working closely with a diverse accounts in like the enterprise sector, various industries. I make sure that all of our customers have a seamless implementation process of their drone and dog solutions. And my ultimate goal is to always help our customers achieve their strategic goals. So yeah, that was about us. Moving ahead, I just want to walk you through a few housekeeping rules. So we'll keep this entire session engaging. Please feel free to use the chat section on your right to post your questions, and we'll make sure that we answer them at the final Q&A session. This session is also getting recorded. So if you want to revisit what we spoke about, at your own time, that's something you'll be able to do. And yeah, and let us also know how you are feeling about this session. Did you like it? You can drop in a LinkedIn post, use the hashtag NestGen, and we also have a surprise for you. So the top 3 posts will receive a special NestGen hamper. So with that being said, Jeet, I think we can take it forward. Do you want to start sharing your screen?
Yep. All right. Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Neil?
Yes, Jeet.
All right, then, as Neil said, the context for this session today, we'll be learning about how you can get started right from the basics. So, without any further ado, let's jump on to this. Neil, would you like to take this up? So how do you determine your use case, right? Now you know you want to get into drone in a box operations. You have figured out that it will save your cost. It will, increase efficiency in your operations, and also like a lot of use cases, it will also reduce hazardous operations, right? So
Yeah.
how do you proceed ahead?
So yes, so the first step of getting started with an autonomous drone solution is that you need to determine your use case, and each use case is unique and complex. So before deciding to deploy drone dogs, several factors are there that are needed to be considered. They typically include the type of asset being monitored or inspected, the frequency with which you want to conduct the operations, the area of operations that you have, so the total distance of the area that needs to be covered, the current technologies used, do you have any workflows that you want to integrate? So let's say any event based requirements. Do you want to send the drone in response to, let's say, an intruder that was being detected, and stuff like that? So
Right.
the idea is to really get into the nitty gritty, if you want to decide, if the drone and the dog is a good fit for you.
Yeah.
And what we usually recommend is that you go ahead and make a checklist for yourself. So this is the time where you need to have a, like, sit down, pen down your requirements so that you have clear, like, you have clarity on what you need to do. So I'll just walk you through, a template that we've created. So you need to know what your application is. It can be for security and surveillance, can be for construction monitoring, the type of asset that you want to monitor. So it can be, linear assets. So if you want to inspect a pipeline, let's say, or a highway, or let's say a rail yard, which are the typical linear assets that you have. Vertical assets, facades, let's say telecom towers, that's something that you need to take care of. And the area of coverage, so solar power plants, warehouses. You also need to figure out the frequency of your operation. So do you want to fly the drone once a month? The dog is probably not a good fit for you. If you want to do an hourly flight, a daily flight, that's something that you need to figure out. Along with that, a few other things. So what kind of sensors or payloads would you need to solve your use case? So if you're, let's say, you want to inspect a track and you want to detect the cracks in a particular, railway asset. So you need to have a special drone that can carry a special payload, which is able to zoom in, let's say, from 100 meters and look at that particular area. And yes, so event-based response, if you want to integrate with some alarms or IoT sensors, or like CAT systems, computer-aided dispatch, and things like that. So you also need to figure out your budget. So that's something, you need to have a lot of clarity on. And once you have that clarity, you can then proceed ahead to the next step.
Right.
And yeah.
I think, Neil, also something which came up a lot today during other sessions as well, like how a drone in a box can be is not a single use case product, right?
Yeah.
Now the applications that Neil spoke about today, like surveying, mapping, so your drone can be performing surveys for like maybe it's a weekly or a daily thing, but it can also be performing some scheduled patrols around the assets, right? So that is something you should also like keep an eye on. You should note it that you can have multiple use cases. It's not necessary that you should only go for one use case as you would typically, because once the dock and the drone are installed, there are limitless opportunities for you to explore there.
And to put, thanks Jeet for highlighting that. To put things into perspective, let's say you deployed a dock at a secure, like a railway yard. You're obviously going to inspect the railway tracks, but a use case that you can leverage is that you can also secure your rail yard, so run routine patrols over there. If you want to monitor some construction, or let's say create 3D maps, so that is where you can get, the full return of investment on the docks that you've deployed.
Right.
I think we can go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. So I think now that you have determined your use case, the next step would be to choose the right hardware, right? Now, as Neil spoke about how you would need a specific payload or a specific drone for your use case, Now you need to figure out what kind of docking station and drone you will need, right? Now, for performing, say, a flight once a day, you can go for a typical drone charging station. But if you have like, if you need the drone to be on standby all the time for, say, drone as first responder or something else performing regular schedules, you need something maybe like a battery swapping station, right? So now the next step is to choose the right hardware. And again, we have come up with a template for you. You can. So what you need to do, right? You need to know the application. That is the thing we've already covered. Now the flight time required. Now you need to figure out how much area will you be covering, what kind of flight time would you typically require. So all of these minor details need to be taken care of before choosing the right hardware, along with the operating environment. Like in case your hardware is equipped to sustain areas where there's minus 40 degrees Celsius. Minus 40 is a little too much. Around minus 20 degrees Celsius, I would say, or even in hotter areas where there's 40 degrees Celsius or above, like we've seen in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, right? Then you need to figure out your budget. Obviously, you would need to cater to your allocated resources well, and also the acceptable drone downtime. As I said, the type of operation, which if it's routine or it's event based, it will also determine what is the acceptable drone downtime. So with this in place, now you have your use case figured out, you have your docking station and the drone figured out. Now you need something that enables something more, which enables you to get the value out of all of these things, right? Yep. So now is the step where you set up your remote drone operation center. Now, typically, you have like multiple screens. Like this is some of our partners and customers have some screens like this. I understand it comes at a premium, but the idea of setting up a remote drone operation center is to have that awareness and visibility of your drone operations and dock operations all the time, right? Now you need a software which could cater to your use case and also be compatible and make the best out of the hardware that you've got. So how do you select the right RDOC software, right? Neil, would you like to go ahead?
Sure, Jeet. And yeah, so the next step really is to implement a reliable enterprise grade software that automates your entire operations. So establishing a remote drone operations command center will enable efficient management and monitoring of your entire fleet of drones and docking stations, ensuring seamless and coordinated functioning from takeoff to landing. And literally that comes everything, like everything in between. So there are a few essential functionalities that are needed. So we'll start off with device management. So you've bought a dock and a drone, perhaps multiple drones and docks. You want to be able to register them onto your platform very seamlessly. The setup process should not take them more than 15 to 20 minutes. So that's one thing that you need to take care of. Diagnostics as well. So you need to have a proper health management system in place, because again, we're talking about autonomy, removing the human from the loop. You need to ensure that you're receiving the right kind of warning or error messages from all these devices so that you're able to take an informed decision before you finally
Right.
allow your drone to go into a flight.
I have a little anecdote from like last week regarding diagnostics. So one of our partners that I work with, they were performing these solar panel inspections in their area, and while the drone was performing a takeoff, they noticed that there was a warning. There was a health warning which said there's a battery capacity error. The battery is in maintenance. And if they wouldn't have figured that, the drone probably wouldn't have come back to the dock, or it wouldn't have completed the mission as well, right? So to know the hardware remotely, to know what's going on with the hardware, the drone and its batteries as well, is a crucial thing. And with diagnostics and the health management system, the operator who's probably thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away from the drone, they're getting that on-site visibility, right?
Yeah. And building onto that, you also need a proper maintenance page. So this is where you're getting the telemetry from your devices. So when I mean devices, I mean the drone and the docking station. So like Jeet mentioned, the operator is usually going to be miles away from where the dock is deployed. in a remote location. You need to be able to see all those, vital telemetry details. You need to be able to, let's say, if you want to reboot the docking station, you can't travel for 4 hours and go on site and do that. So having that flexibility is really a bonus. And coming on to device logs, you need to be able to troubleshoot things a lot faster in case something goes wrong. Again, traveling to the site is cumbersome. There's a lot of administrative effort that goes into it. So having a functionality where you can download the logs directly from the device, and that too remotely, and send it to the relevant stakeholders. So if it's a issue related to, let's say, the dock, then you can download the logs, send it to the troubleshooting team, so that they can come back to you in a faster time and help you with the next steps. Yeah.
Right. Let's move on. So mission flight planning, right? Now you've determined your use case, you have your hardware. Now you need to make sure that you are able to achieve your goals, and that happens through flight planning. So whatever the kind of flights that you need to do. So it can be maybe waypoint missions, or you're performing aerial surveys through mapping missions. So the platform needs to have all of these essential features so that you're able to achieve from your drone what you would intend to, right? When you're sending a pilot there, they can maneuver the drone, they can plan a mission there. But while it's done remotely, the kind of mission planning, the kind of actions the drone takes at waypoints, it's quite crucial, right? And again, the other essential parts of flight planning would also be go to location. So if you would like to respond to an alert, or drones as first responder, the DFR term that's quite popular these days. DFR means that you need to head to a location where there's an alert, or maybe there's a situation where you need to look at. For that purpose, go to location feature where you can quickly go to a location by just clicking on the map is quite essential. And then maneuvering the drones remotely. So having that ability to easily just use your keyboard, or even a nice joystick, reminiscing those old days of playing video games, just using your drone, flying around. It's quite simple and intuitive. So these things really help you get into that zone where you don't feel like you're miles away, but you feel like you're on ground with the drone, right?
And building on to what we said, Jeet, the type of mission planning features that you would require when you're going to autonomous drone ops, they should be able to solve a lot of use cases. So if you specifically say your waypoint missions can come in handy for security and surveillance. For mapping missions, you need a grid mission planning. Go to location comes in handy in public safety and drone as first responses. Even maneuvering your drones remotely. So let's say you've responded to an incident, you want to take manual control of your drone, probably do some more search and rescue. And if you're in construction monitoring, or if you want to inspect your assets very closely, this is where live mission recording comes into play.
Yeah. So in live mission recording, just to go over it quite briefly, you simply take manual control remotely using your keyboard or a joystick, and then you are able to fly the drone and record a mission. So again, once the mission is recorded, you can schedule that mission. You can play it daily, on a weekly basis, or whatever. So that really helps you get into that accurate planning zone where you are able to properly pinpoint what kind of maneuver the drone will make while it's flying repeated missions, right? All right, moving on. So, airspace awareness and flight safety. So, I think this is one of the most crucial factors when you're flying beyond visual line of sight. How do you ensure that other aircrafts don't collide into mine? How do you ensure that the drone does not enter areas where it's not supposed to, right? It does not breach those zones where my drone is not supposed to go. Now, if I have a site security area, I need to just fly around it and not outside. Then these are the things which you need to make sure that the platform has. So, for instance, with detect and avoid systems like ADSB sensors, or detect and avoid systems like these intruder detection systems that have even visual and radar sensors to detect ADSB aircrafts, or also commercial as well as rogue aircraft which do not have any ADSB out sensors. So to the ability to have that and get warnings for your operator so that they know that they need to reduce the altitude or they need to change their paths. It's quite important. And I think one of the things that will also now eventually become reality is having a network of unmanned traffic, right? This is something that we'll be talking about more in detail later today in a session. But having that ability to know what's going on in your airspace and then to have tactical deconfliction or a strategic deconfliction in place. Then collision avoidance. Now, when you're flying the drone using a remote control, you can clearly see on your remote controller the data from your collision avoidance sensors, whether it's horizontal or vertical, right? In the horizontal plane or the vertical. But while you're flying it remotely, it becomes even more essential because you're not there in the line of sight, and uh, you know you need to have that data point to be able to determine where your drone is flying, and hopefully it doesn't collide into anything, right? And then one of the most important part is fail safes. So having those fail safe mechanisms in place, like what happens when the signal between the dock and the drone is lost, what happens if there's no internet connection, what happens if the electricity is shut. All of these things need to be figured out by the RDOC software, right? So yeah, that is where airspace awareness and flight safety needs to be taken care of.
And just to briefly sum this up, Jeet, what you spoke about airspace awareness. So during NestGen as well, we've been talking about how the year 2024 and the years coming forward are the years of drones and docking stations, and eventually everything, if they are currently happening in the visual line of sight space, things will slowly move on to the BVLOS space, and that is where flight safety and compliance really comes into the picture. So whenever you're selecting um, you know, uh, a software platform, you need to ensure that all these things are in place, because again, flight safety is of the utmost importance.
All right. So once you've performed multiple flights, you need to go to a certain place. You are achieving your goals, right? You need to achieve the goals of your enterprise. Now, once you conclude your flight, what do you typically do? You need to revisit your flight. You need to check what happened, because a lot of times it might be a scheduled mission, or sometimes the operator might not be paying attention to it. So it becomes even more important to have flight logs report generated along with flight playback functionalities, where you're able to see what the drone did at every point in the mission. Now, one thing is flight playback, as I mentioned. The other is flight log reporting. Now, a lot of civil aviation authorities, FAA, even around different geographies, Malaysia, they require you to share a set of flight log reports, and that is when flight log reports come in handy. You can easily generate PDF format of the flight logs and share it with them. And apart from that, as I said, collected data that the data that you collect from your flights, it is it's a crucial data, and you need to make sure it is not mishandled, or it does not go to places where it shouldn't. So that is when media sync to private cloud storage also comes in, right? Along with having options to set up your own private cloud network on your own network or on-premise cloud solutions to make sure that your data is secure, and you're able to also then go ahead and use the data for data processing and analytics. That is what we're going to talk about next. So now you've set up your docking station and the drone, you have your remote operation center in place along like the software. You've been performing missions. Now finally the step is to integrate it with your enterprise workflows. Now what does that mean essentially? You set out to deploy a docking station with a goal, right? And that goal wouldn't be completely achieved unless it does not solve the problem end to end, right? From flights to, again, collecting the data and then processing it can be one workflow. Then having an alert based system where the drone can directly respond to the alert, perform a couple of actions, and then come back. All of these end-to-end workflows need to be taken care of. That is the next step when it comes to achieving full autonomy.
And just to add to that, Jeet, having worked with a lot of enterprises, FlightBase has been in the docking station industry for about 5 to 6 years now. So you only realize the true ROI of the entire solution when you become an ingredient part of the enterprise workflow. So let's say you have a very big enterprise that's working in the security domain, and unless and until your solution is not a part of their workflows, they will not be able to realize the true potential of this technology. For example, a security for a security use case, there is a requirement for scheduling mission. So let's say for 16 hours every day, the drone takes off every hour, does a remote flight, comes back. They would also need to ingest that drone's video stream. They probably already have a video management system, can be genetic, can be milestone. So having that video feed into your command center where your security guards are sitting and viewing the CCTV feeds as well, but also getting a
Yeah.
bird's eye view.
Right.
And thirdly, let's say they would probably have some uh, alarm based workflows or like intruder detection. They have a few zones that have been allocated in their area, and somebody tries to enter that zone. Uh, Usually, if their current workflow would be that an alarm is triggered, the guard would probably walk down or take a car and go to that location. You would want to save precious time in these moments and instead send a drone. So that is where you become a part of their enterprise workflows. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what this is where flings and automations come in handy. This is something that was talked about in the keynote by my colleague Amog as well. So it's nothing but having the ability to really integrate it into your workflows, like as Neil mentioned, alarms or live data sharing, and also to be able to set a workflow for trigger actions. So what does a drone do when it reaches this location or when it responds to an alert? All of this entire workflow end to end can be detailed and can be set on the platform, right? So you know what, Neil? I think there's an alert on our HQ. I'll just quickly share the FlightBase dashboard, and we can see it live in action. Enough of talking. I just really want to fly the drone now.
I always say to our clients as well, seeing is believing in our industry. So let's show you what can be done in such type of a scenario. So just to give you some context, this is the flight based dashboard. This is our headquarters here back in India. On the right, you can see the docking station's video feed, and Jeet is now going to respond to an alert that we've received. So there seems to be a for we've used a simulation for this, but uh, in a security use case, this might come in handy. Jeet can walk you through what he's exactly doing now.
Right. So as Neil mentioned, I got an alert around the North Block. It is an L2 level severity alert. So I just now need to send the drone there and see what's going on. So I just simply click on send drone, and then choose my drone, and then I can configure what altitude it will fly at, and then I'll simply click on launch. Now once I click launch, I'll get a quick checklist. So right, like a pre-flight checklist, like an SOP, I need to make sure I have the right RTK counts, I have the safe location configured for emergency landing, the health status of the devices is healthy, and again, weather, that is rainfall, wind speed, that is fine. I have the geofence and no-fly zones synced and perfectly in place. Now I'll just click execute. All right. So now the drone will proceed to that location and it will hover, and I can then take manual control from my side, right? You can see on your left that you get all the detailed telemetry of the drone in the dock here, along with weather, network and connections information, and also if you have any operators, your colleagues and friends flying the drone, you can also see that as well, right?
I think Jeet, we are a little over time, and it looks like the demo gods did not work in our favor. But what we can do is again, like we have the recordings of the session as well, so we'll make sure that we add something to it and show our audience how it's going to look like when it executes the alarm. We can open the session for a few questions, so we can take that.
Sure, Neil. I think there are a few questions again in the chat box. The first question is, what is the communication protocol used by the drone to communicate with the dog? So usually in the industry, it is over radio frequency, but there are also solutions that can make the drone independent. That is by implementing cellular technology, so the drone can be flying on 4G or 5G, and then in that case, the communication can be done over cloud, right? Um, then I think, can I do mapping missions with FlightBase? Neil, would you like to take that?
Sure, you can certainly do mapping missions with FlightBase. We have a dedicated planning module for the mapping use case. Usually, in mapping use case, you would require grid missions where you can, set the grids, the grid angles, and make sure that you're capturing all that data. We're also introducing ground sampling distance, front overlaps, and side overlaps, so that you're able to capture that data effectively. And uh, what we also do is we allow you to sync all that data to probably a third party app that lets you analyze the data that you've captured. So let's say you mapped an entire site, now you want to create a 3D model out of it. So that's something that we allow you to do.
Right.
I think that covers it. We have one more question, that does FlightBase also integrate with drones and like manufacturers other than DJI? So this is from Abhishek. Yes, we totally do. So FlightBase as a platform is hardware agnostic. We are compatible with a range of drones and docking stations. Be it DJI, we also work with Ardu Pilot and Pixar based drones. So we're totally compatible with other platforms as well.
Right. Which what VMS do we do does FlightBase support? So again, in that case, FlightBase is quite agnostic when it comes to supporting VMS, but it also depends on what kind of data would you like to get shared over your VMS. So, for instance, it can be video streaming, which can be shared over RTSP or RTM protocols, or you would also need sometimes maybe the telemetry of the drone over there. So based on your needs, FlightBase can definitely support multiple a variety of VMS solutions. Gustavo has asked, is GDU K01 compatible with FlightBase? At the moment, it is not, but we are in talks with GDU. I think we've got an amazing solution in place. We saw today as well with Jack. Um, yeah, Neil, you know what? While we were doing that, while we were launching the drone, it is actually in air right now.
Oh,
So let me just quickly share my screen. All right. So as we were launching the drone to an alarm, it got a little delayed. So we just thought we should take up questions first. Now I'm in the cockpit view of the flight-based dashboard, moving around the gimbal. I can also mark annotations with the rangefinder. Now, again, having an alarm alert-based dispatch would mean that you need to, you are working in a public safety environment or you're responding to something. In which case, having a rangefinder to know what's the distance between that object and the drone where it's looking at is quite crucial, and the rangefinder allows you to do that. Now, let me quickly take control of the drone. So I can just use my keyboard right now, or I can choose to use a Thrustmaster joystick. But then, yeah, so I can fly around. I can, if I have to zoom in to these bunch of cars right here, I'll just quickly do that. Yeah. So I can zoom in, I can see what kind of traffic is there. Something that was covered earlier today, I think, in a session from Data from Sky about traffic monitoring and analysis using AI. So you can stream this video feed into a software like Data from Sky, where you can then run analytics and trajectory mapping of these vehicles as well. Right. I think we are quite over time. I'll just quickly return the drone to the docking station. And if you have any further questions regarding the platform, regarding the session today, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section. You can also reach out to me or Neil at support@flightbase.com. We'll be happy to resolve any of the questions that you may have. Um, yeah, and with that, we've come to the end of the session. We still have a bunch of sessions coming up. There are panel discussions which will help you navigate the BV law space, and also some crucial learnings when it comes to UTMs and doc deployments. So hope you enjoy the rest of the evening and have a nice day. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And I think the drone is about to land as well. Thanks, audience, for your time. Appreciate it. I hope you were able to, learn a lot of things about autonomous drone operations. And stay tuned for the other sessions as well. And we enjoyed hosting you. Thank you.
And
And
also,
thank you.
and
And have
also,
a great day. Thanks, Jeet.